Well, it's time to take a look at the ever-popular 30-second note subdivisions. Now, some of you might be saying, ever popular, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of these. Well, for me as a teacher, I get a lot of drummers, young and old, experienced, inexperienced, saying, what the heck are 30-second notes? So I find that I teach these a lot. That's why it's kind of popular for me, because there's not a lot of great explanations out there on the 30-second note. Let me show you a few different ways that I was taught the 30-second note that I no longer teach my students. Basically, there's 32 notes in a bar of 4/4, which means per quarter note, I have 8 30-second notes. Think about that. 8 times 4 quarter notes is 32. So how the heck am I going to count 32 notes in a bar of music? Definitely don't count to 32. I'm not even try to count to 32 as fast as I can, because it'll just be embarrassing for me. So I remember going to one teacher once, a guy that I just took a couple lessons with, and I said, you know, I kind of have an understanding of how to play 30-second notes, but how do you actually count them? And this guy says, well, you just double up the count of 16th notes. He goes, you know how to count 16th notes? I said, yeah, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda. He says, just say each one of those words twice. I said, 1, 1, e, and, ah. He goes, yeah, perfect. So I kind of scratched my head and went, okay, let me try this. 1, 1, e, and, ah, 2, 2, e, and, ah. And I couldn't get through it. It was so confusing and so bizarre. And now I still laugh at that, you know, at that time that I had, because it was quite silly. If you can do that, great, go for it. But that was actually slowing me down in my 30-second note learning process. What a lot of teachers will say, they say, well, just play 16th notes with one hand, 1 e and 2 e and 3 e and 4 e and fill in the gaps or the holes or the notes you're not playing with the left hand. So if you're going 1 e and 2 e and 3 e and 4 e and digga 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 digga. Yes, that's 30-second notes. But for me, the kind of person who likes to analyze things until I can completely understand what I'm doing, I wanted to know, what are those left-hand notes doing? Are they just invisible notes that I add there while I'm thinking 16ths? Well, that may help you later on in your playing once you have a full understanding of 30-second notes. I'm not saying that system is bad. It may not just be great at first when you're learning how to count 30-second notes. Some people say, wow, like, why would you count 30-second notes? They're played so fast that why would you count them? Well, like I keep mentioning, as you understand these and get them faster, you won't be counting. It's all about a feel thing. It becomes a part of your playing. But whenever you're learning, it always helps to know what you're learning. It's just as simple as that. So another teacher that I had said, well, why don't you try counting 1 e and e and. And I thought, wow, that might be confusing as well. But I found it to be the least confusing out of the other ways that I was shown. 1 e and e and. 1 e and e and. Lots of ands, but I found it was easier to say. Those series of syllables were a little bit easier to say than 1, 1, e and ah, 2, 2, e and ah. So I started practicing 1 e and e and, which is 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 e and e and. And yeah, it was a little tricky, but once again, it was the easiest one out of the ones that I've seen. 1 e and e and, 2 e and e and, 3 e and e and, 4 e and e and. Notice the quarter note in there? 1 e and e and, 2 e and e and, 3 e and e and, 4 e and e and. So once I had that idea kind of, you know, solidified, I started just practicing that, you know, take it, 1 e and e and, 2 e and e and, 3. And it worked. It was like, wow, okay, I couldn't count very fast. I found that once I got to a point where I couldn't count any faster, I needed to stop counting completely and just play it by ear. And I'd slow it down to make sure that I was still playing 30-second notes. I didn't want to accidentally skip into some other rhythm that was not 30-second notes. And then I realized that, hey, this is right. I've now got the 30-second note pulse inside of my body. So you'll generally see 30-second notes in drum fills, double bass playing, funk and fusion drumming, progressive rock drumming. You probably won't see 30-second notes in AC/DC tunes or radio pop tunes. You'll also see 30-second notes in rudimentary drumming, orchestral drumming, rolls, etc., etc. So we need to have an understanding of what we're doing, because basically what we're doing is we're doubling the 16th note. If you think about it, 16 times 2 is 32. So another example I'm going to give you here is if I have 2 quarter notes at the very beginning of the bar on beats 1 and 2, and then 8 30-second notes on beat 3, 8 more 30-second notes on beat 4. Now, I have to make sure that I start slow if I'm going to practice this kind of exercise, because those 30-second notes are going to be fast. Remember, a quarter note is 1 to 1. 30-second notes are 8 to 1. So I got to make sure that I can play 8 notes within a quarter note, clean and quick. So I might start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, Let's see if I can clap this for them. This might be kind of fast to clap. I'll see if I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, A little bit easier to do with 2 drumsticks. So you can see at that tempo, 30-second notes are pretty quick. Now this is not a very fast tempo at all. 1 2 3 4 So that might be the extent of where I count or clap these types of rhythms. But the main thing, once again, is that quarter note pulse underneath has to stay consistent so that I can fit those 30-second notes in properly. I would suggest just practicing one exercise over and over and over before moving on to the next one until you really have a good grasp on the 30-second note pulse. There's nothing worse than guessing at what you're playing. You know, you might be doing something that you think is really hip and it's completely weird and out of time. You know, I mean, I've seen guys accidentally play 9 or 10 notes when they're trying to play 30-second notes as opposed to 8 per quarter. And it's cool, but it's incorrect, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. So keep in mind, when you're counting 30-second notes, start very, very slow till you get that understanding. Later on, your hands and your mind will just tell you that you're playing it right. So let's turn the page to some 30-second note subdivisions. Let's have some fun with these.